Hi, and welcome to the LesParis.com podcast. I'm Les. This podcast is a short daily monologue that you can listen to. Use it to practice listening to English. Use it to stimulate ideas. Use it for BGM. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are listening and what time you're listening. I want to say thank you for coming to the Les Paris podcast. We're going to start episode 47. Yesterday we talked about rising sea levels, which was kind of scientific. Today we're going to talk about debit cards, which is not scientific, but it's still a little bit technical. Be careful with the vocabulary. Debit cards. Do you have a debit card? Do you know what a debit card is? In some countries, debit cards are very common, and in other countries, they're not very common at all. And above and beyond that, what's the difference between a debit card and a credit card? After all, they both have 16-digit numbers, they both have an expiration date, and they both have magnetic chips and strips. So they look the same. What's the difference? Well, the big difference is if you use a debit card, you're taking money straight out of your bank account. On the other hand, if you use a credit card, you're borrowing money from the credit company. So you're racking up debt. Isn't that terrible? The one that doesn't make debt is called a debit card, and the one that does make debt isn't called a debit card. That's crazy English. Now, if you use a debit card, what are the good points and the bad points? The pros and the cons. One of the good points about debit cards is there's no fees for the card. Every time you use the card, you don't pay a company extra money. You just pay the price that you have to pay. Debit cards are also very convenient. All you need is the card and it works, as long as you have money in your account. And there's no interest on the debit card payments. You pay the money, it goes out of your bank, gone, instant. On the other hand, you could have overdraft problems. That means you spend more money than exists in your account, and your bank then gives you kind of a loan to cover the money that wasn't in your account. So that's a debt. That's an agreement you make with your bank, so it depends on the card and the bank account. Another one is you don't build your credit account or your credit rating. And for some people, having a good credit rating is very, very important. For me, I try not to use credit, so I'm not very concerned about my credit rating. But everybody has their own personal opinion about that. There, that's debit cards in a nutshell. Well, thanks, and once again, thanks for listening to the end of the Les Paris podcast. Today we talked about debit cards. We covered how they're different from a credit card, even though they look the same, and their good points and bad points. Be sure to come back tomorrow and listen about food colors.